If you are a first-time home buyer, you are not going to want to miss this video and part 2 of this video. In this video, these 2 videos, I'm going to cover 21 mistakes to avoid as a first-time home buyer. So let's get into it. So the first mistake a lot of home buyers make is not preparing themselves financially. So it's important to understand how to get a mortgage. It's important to understand credit and how credit works and what kind of credit score you need to qualify for a mortgage. And knowing how to get that credit score that you need to try to get the best interest rate that you can for your mortgage. All of these things really need to happen before you apply. If you're not really sure how to do it, then certainly reach out, and a good realtor, or even better, a good loan officer, can help you get your credit where it needs to be so that you can qualify for the best possible mortgage. The second mistake first-time home buyers often make is failing to get a mortgage pre-approval. So a lot of first-time home buyers get caught up in the excitement of looking at homes and end up looking at homes that it turns out they can't afford. And that leads to a lot of disappointment. So the first thing you really need to do is not just get a pre-qualification, which is where you tell the lender how much you make, how much you paid in taxes, what your credit scores are, and then they issue a pre-qualification letter. It is much, much better in this market to get a pre-approval where you actually submit documentation. Your credit is pulled, your bank statements are looked at, your income is looked at in detail, and that way your lender can give you a much more accurate number that you're pre-approved for. That also makes your offer stronger than with a pre-qualification. Most sellers want a pre-approval letter with your offer. They want to know before they accept your offer that you can actually afford the house. So making sure you're getting a pre-approval is really important. Tip number 3, or mistake number 3, that a lot of first-time home buyers make is they only speak to one mortgage lender. Lenders, just like any other profession, they'll have different rates, different level of service that they provide. A lot of people want to go with big national brands like Rocket Mortgage, and reality is you often are going to get a better deal from a local lender. You're certainly going to get better service. So make sure you talk to a variety of different types of lenders to give yourself the best options and ultimately the best rate, best deal. The fourth mistake that first-time home buyers make is not investigating government-backed loans. Now, I don't see this one as often. I'll have a lot of clients reach out to me that are first-time home buyers saying they want the first-time home buyer product. Really what they're talking about is an FHA loan, and it's not limited to first-time home buyers. It's basically if you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, it's something you can typically qualify for. The reason it's important to look at FHA loans, VA loans, and USDA loans is because of that government backing. The requirements to qualify are usually a little bit easier than with a conventional loan, and they're smaller down payments. FHA is typically 3.5% down. VA can do 0% down. USDA can do 0% down. Now, with USDA, you also have the challenges the home and the location of the home has to qualify for USDA, meaning it has to be in a less densely populated area, so an area that they're trying to populate more. But these are all really, really good loan products for a first-time home buyer, and it's worth exploring those options. The fifth mistake that a lot of first-time home buyers make is not checking their credit report. It's not just about your score, but what's on the credit report. So making sure that it's accurate, because maybe your score is too low because there's something inaccurate on there and it needs to be challenged or corrected. So making sure you get a free copy of your credit report as you begin this process so you can identify any issues up front and deal with those before you're ready to try to close on your home. The sixth mistake that a lot of first-time home buyers make is thinking that they need to have a 20% down payment in order to purchase. That is an old myth that's out there. As I mentioned before, with an FHA loan, it's 3.5% down. With a VA loan, it's 0. You can put more, but it can be 0. USDA can be 0. Even some conventional loan programs can be 3%, can be 5%, can be 10%. And then, of course, there are 20% down. 20% is a big number because with 20% down, you can typically avoid mortgage insurance, which does raise your monthly payment. But if you don't have 20%, the best way to get into a home is looking at one of these lower down payment program options. So don't be tricked into that myth of needing 20% down. The seventh mistake that a lot of first time home buyers make is buying a house they can't afford. It's really important to understand what your budget really is, and maybe not shop at the top of your budget for your first home. That first home is, I always tell my clients, it's a stopgap. It's a way to stop the pattern of renting and start earning some equity so that you can upgrade eventually to your dream home. That first home is not really meant to be your dream home. You work your way up to it by selling after you earn some equity in it, and then putting that equity into your down payment for your larger, closer to your dream home. So try to shop a little below your budget so you have a little wiggle room. There's probably going to be some repairs and maintenance issues that come up with home ownership that you're not used to if you've always been renting and a landlord takes care of it, or eventually takes care of it, as is often the case with landlords. So that's something to keep in mind. Number 8, failing to do your due diligence. What happens with a lot of first-time home buyers is they got caught up in the excitement of looking at homes and get caught up in the glitz of a particular property instead of really looking at that home's history, looking at what might be some repair issues. Oftentimes what happens is with a first-time home buyer, they walk into a home and maybe it's been updated. So it's got new floors, new cabinets, new countertops. So kind of shiny object, but the bones of the home are really bad. So it needs a new roof, the electrical's outdated, the plumbing's outdated, whatever. And you get caught up in the glitz and glamour of the shiny countertops. And now all of a sudden you're kind of in a money pit because you got to put a new roof on, you got to replace the AC, you got to replace electrical components or plumbing components. So it's important to rely on your realtor to talk to you about what might be some things that you need to be concerned about in that home. And really, really, it's important to go ahead and get that home inspection done so you really know what you're looking at. The 9th mistake that a lot of first-time home buyers make is allowing your emotions to get the better of you. Again, it's an exciting process. If you've always rented, you've never owned before, owning that first home is a really exciting prospect. But you do have to remember that it's essentially a business decision. Really follow your finances and make good decisions financially, not emotionally. So that's really important to keep in mind. That way you can avoid buyer's remorse. The 10th mistake that a lot of first-time home buyers make is not accounting for the total cost of buying a home. So there's mortgage, there is closing costs, there's down payment, there's a bunch of fees in terms of as far as that closing costs go. That could be 2 to 5% of the purchase price. There are inspections, and depending on what kind of home, it could be a couple $1,000s worth of inspections you really need to do to have done your due diligence. So it's really important to keep in mind the total cost of buying a home. Tune into my next video where I'll highlight another 10 mistakes that first-time home buyers make and one bonus mistake to try to avoid. I hope to see you in the next video. Have a great day, everybody.